Hey, it's Luke Miller here from potentialchange.com. Big massive thank you for coming along to watch this video. Wanted to talk about something that I've been reading about recently. Actually, I've been reading a book called Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Tradition, and in this book he talks about a systemic reformation of society. It's not actually, he didn't write the book. The book is Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Tradition, written by Francis Yates. And basically what it does is it's almost like two books. It kind of breaks down the complete and utter history of Hermeticism, and then which is based on a few ancient texts which strongly relate to ancient Egyptian religion. With a lot of emphasis on Hermes Trismegistus, and in different books like the Kabbalion, for example, they have the 7 Hermetic Principles, which are basically different types of duality, you know, like being that everything exists as in the mind, you know, but not just this mind, in this mind and in a higher mind, and also like things like polarity, which is duality, and rhythm, saying everything swings in rhythm and everything has its counter, like masculinity and femininity, etc. But it's a really interesting philosophy to follow. But this breaks down the philosophy in a nutshell in the first 150 or so pages, and then it goes into the second part, which is about Giordano Bruno, who's he was actually burnt at the stake. This guy was burnt at the stake for his controversial, if you want to call it controversial, views at the time. And one of those things, I mean, a lot of it was to do with, he had scientific views, thinking, you know, like that the Earth is not the centre of the universe and all these kind of things, which we know to be true now, but at the time were very kind of radical. And eventually he was burnt at the stake. He was the Roman Inquisition, I think. Yeah, the Roman Inquisition tried him and found him guilty of heresy, and decided that he deserved to be burnt for his worldviews. So in this part I've been reading, I still haven't finished the book, but in the part I've been reading, I forget the name of the book, but he talks about societal reformation, and he talks about there are 48 astrological signs, and in the book he uses the negative connotations of the astrological signs and how we can remedy them with their positive opposite, you know. And he talks about how we can break down society now and move to one that is one of service, that one is that of looking after each other and treating each other with love, compassion, looking after the weak and the poor, and encouraging artistic endeavours and all this kind of really magical and juicy stuff. But he also has a heavy emphasis on Egyptian religion, you know, being that, you know, there's something that the Egyptians were doing that was really, really mystical and magical as well. You know, like he talks about magic as well as part of his the idea for reformation. You know, which, you know, like a lot of people think of magic as like sitting down with you know, your wand and turning people, non-desirable people, into frogs, etc. But I think you know, when you start to break down magic, you see that a lot of very, you know, highly successful and intelligent people actually use magic. And I'm not debating that there might be strains of magic that are kind of a bit dark and a bit weird, and that you know, actually has the ability to, you know, change you know, physical reality. But what I've read about is a lot of it is more related to the power of visualization and the power of using your imagination. You know, like for example, Giordano Bruno wrote a few books on the memory, you know, the Hermetic art of memory, and that what it was really about is like, if you can strengthen the power of your memory, you can do really like, you can visualize things and hold very, very clear images in your mind, and then you can manifest the images into actuality. So the point I wanted to make, which I kind of went around about with, is it seemed like he's making some really good points. And, you know, when they burn someone at the stake, you have to ask yourself, you know, why, what views were being challenged. And he has this heavy emphasis on Egyptian religion, and it seemed to be he was coming from a place of service, you know, that was a unified a collective of unification, instead of one that's within like a divided collective, you know, like instead of it being an individual, you know, like lots and lots of individuals making up society. Society is one, and we're all different selves of that larger society. So it'd be interesting. What do you think? You know, like, do you think we need a societal reformation? Do you think that societal reformation should have rules? You know, like, these are interesting things to ponder. You know, like, if we were to change things, do we need like a certain rule set for things to work in a specific way? Do we need a certain religion? Do we need certain rites and rituals and practices? Or, you know, does it become an absolute free-for-all? It's a really interesting thing to ponder. And if you're interested in these kind of ideas, check out Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Tradition by Francis Yates. Thank you so much for coming along to watch this video. I really appreciate your time and presence. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Say hi, Bavani.
Hello.
That's my lovely girlfriend Bavani in the background.